Hey everybody, I'm Michael from Michael Strong Rubber Stamps. Today we're going to do a couple of fun projects together using three of my favorite things: paper crafting, punches, and recycling. So come on, let's get started. So I'm calling this episode Heavy Metal because the theme of the layout that you'll see a little bit later is rock and roll music. And we're also using real metal to decorate the page and also to make a really cool card. Now, I can't really say it's heavy metal, but it is metal, and it's an aluminum can. And I want to show you step by step how to prepare this for making our project. So to begin with, I'm going to save the little tab because we're going to use that later. And I'm just going to cut the can. And do this carefully at home because the edges are a little bit sharp. So begin by piercing the can with your point of the scissors, and it's very easy to pierce. The cans are actually very thin metal. So what you want to do now is snip the bottom of the can off. And it doesn't matter that it's a little bit raggedy because we're going to actually use my paper cutter a little bit later to trim this up to make it a little neater. All right, there's one. Now we're going to turn it over, do the same thing to the top. And believe it or not, I found out that doing this actually sharpened the blade of my ancient old paper cutter, which is pretty cool. Now we're going to cut the can right in half. And here's what we have. Now I rinsed it out, so it's got a little bit of water in there, so we'll wipe that out. And I'm going to bring in my paper cutter. And what's going to happen is I'm going to turn it over with the printed side up, and then I'm going to cut this, and what I'm going to end up with is a piece of aluminum that's 3 1/4 inches long by about 8 inches in length, like this. Now, what happens here is it tends to curl a little bit, so we want to straighten that out, so that's the next step. So bring in your iron and a towel, and I've got this folded about 4 times. Set your iron to the hottest setting, and then put it onto the metal and roll the towel up. Don't touch the metal because it's retaining a lot of heat, so be careful. Now that side's done. I'm just going to turn it around, do the same thing to the other side. Just flatten it out by rolling the towel. Then you've got a nice piece of flat aluminum ready to go. All right, here's where the punches come in. Now, this piece of metal will give you enough material to make the whole project. And we're going to use the Clever Lever punches from Marvy Uchida. And as you see, they come in a graduated size from a big 3-inch one down to a little tiny 1/2-inch one. So if you notice, the Clever Lever punches have this little window in the back, and you can see exactly where you want to punch. So I'm just going to insert the metal. There's the first one. Now, the little window opens up and you can remove it actually. So there's one. Here's the next one. So you see now I have room for the others here. I've already punched the other 3 that we need. And there's the 5 sizes we're going to use. Now, I'm not using the little one because it's a little hard to manipulate with my big chubby fingers. So maybe somebody out there can figure out what to do with this one. I'm sure there's something beautiful you can do with it. But the next step is to score the little flowers in between each petal. So I'm calling this the valley. This is the valley here. So hold the flower between your fingers like this with the thumbs in the middle and just bend like this. And it makes a perfect little line. So we're going to rotate it again. Here we have one valley at the top here and one valley here. Thumbs in the middle and just press. All right, so here is the little collection of flowers that's going to be put together to make our first project. Now the next thing I need to do is make a little hole in the center of each one. And because the metal is very thin, I'm just going to use the point of my scissors to do this. I'm just piercing this on top of a piece of rigid foam. You could use any, like a phone book if you needed to. So here they are. So the next step is to give each of these petals a little more definition. So I'm going to use the Deco color markers from Marvy Uchida. This one's in black because the theme of our project is all black, white, and silver, but it comes in a variety of really pretty colors. So you can see you're just going to edge each of the pieces. I'll just complete this one and bring in some that I've already done before just to show you how they look. Now, if you do what I just did, making a little mistake, just whisk it off with your finger, and then you can repair it like that. Give this a couple of minutes to dry, and then you'll be able to play with them. So here's how they look after I've colored them all. Now I'm going to attach these with a little brad. You can see that this is just kind of a little metallic color one. And you're going to start by putting the pointy part of the brad through the smallest flower. And it's going to look like that when you're done. Graduate to the next size up. We're just going to pierce that through. Just keep going until they're all put together. Now you can see that you can fan these out any way you like. So I'm going to leave mine like this, and we're going to decorate a card with it. So I'll bring in my 5x7 card, and then I have some frame layers that I'm going to put on. This is a piece of card stock that looks like the aluminum, and then a little black frame on top of that, and then a contrasting gray piece on top. Now I'm going to put a little adhesive on the back. Stick it to the card, and you're done. What do you think about that? Now, I don't usually put some messages on my cards. I'll leave that to you. This could be a beautiful birthday card or an anniversary card, or even a sympathy card would be nice. So for the layout, we're using the Marvy Uchida Clever Lever punches again, but this time notice that we've switched them out from the flowers to the circles. So once again, what we're going to do is punch some of the aluminum that we prepared earlier. And you can see that it's like butter. It's easy to punch. It's not a problem at all. Now we're going to make a whole bunch of circles in all the different sizes. And in addition to the metal, I wanted to use some of this metallic kind of paper. I've done a whole bunch of them already. And one of them, if you notice, has kind of what I call an industrial, almost like a grunge look. But I want to show you how I did that. I used some of the Marvy ink pads. These are the metallic pearl. And it comes in a whole lot of colors, but because we're doing kind of a rock and roll theme, I'm using the black. And all you have to do is take one of your pieces of metal and just tap it right on. And it gives it kind of a neat little shadow on one end. But I'm not done yet. One more thing you can do is take a regular ordinary piece of typing paper, computer paper, and give it a crumple. You want to make an interesting crumple with lots of little nooks and crannies. And this is going to become your stamp now. Press it onto the pad and then just start pressing it onto the metal. And it gives it this really neat industrial look. Okay, so now we're going to set this with the heat tool, and the ink will become permanent. I'm going to hold it down with the scissors, and then just go ahead and heat this for a couple seconds. Okay, I'm going to move these out of the way a little bit here and bring in my layout. So here's the title bar at the top. These are stickers that you just peel off and put in place. Heavy metal, of course. And I'm using that same kind of metallic paper as my background. And then I've got some checkered paper. Kind of reminds me of the shoes my kids used to wear, those Vans. Those are pretty cool. And then a black and white piece for accent over here. And then I'm going to bring in our main attraction, which is Travis, and he's rocking the house. And you can see how that is going to look on there. Now I have all of these elements here, and I also have those things that I told you to save, which was the bottom of the can and the little pull tabs. And you can see that I've started to cut the bottom of the can on here just to show you that you can actually cut this very easily with your scissors. And what you end up with are these cool little domes, and I like the way they look. I suppose you could decorate these as well, but I'm just leaving them kind of the way they are. And they can be attached wherever you like. And then the idea here is to bring in all of those circles in kind of an interesting pattern. And I like to put the big ones at the bottom, and they kind of anchor the page. And then you can graduate the smaller ones up toward the top, and then it's kind of makes a natural looking arch. So here's the tiny little ones. I'm going to use those little tabs that I told you about before on the finished layout. So let me clean up and bring that in. So here's my little hubcap, a little Volkswagen hubcap at the top here. And notice this little piece here, I folded it the same way we did the flowers, only this time it made kind of a compass point circle. Lots of little brads, other pieces of metal, some of that grunge metal that I told you about earlier, and then the pull tabs attaching that ball chain all the way up to this side. So you can see how using lots of different elements really pops this page. You could do other things too, like these variations you see here. This one I added a little color in here, and just 3 of the same size on there makes a really cool card. As you can see, there's lots of variations you can do. So keep recycling, but save a few cans back for a project like this. Get out your punches, dig out your iron if you can remember where it is, and I'll see you again really soon.
For step-by-step instructions on how to create this week's project, download the design guide featuring special make-it-your-own bonus tips.